Hey, thanks for tuning in. So today's topic is about the process of building a successful retirement plan, right? So oftentimes I'm asked that when should I really start to think about building a retirement plan? When should I start doing that? During that accumulation phase when you're younger, all you're focused on is working and building your career and saving money. But there comes a time in life when you really start to think, okay, hey, I worked a long time here, and now I'm really going to start to think about this transition that I'm going to potentially work my way into, from the accumulation phase to the distribution phase. What does that timing look like? Should I do that, a year before I retire, 5 years before I retire, or 10 years before I retire? I would have to say, number one, you could never start too early, right? But building a plan, I think, is very, very important. But if you really want to try to kind of hone in on this and try to come up with some guidance, I would say at least that 5-year window. 60 months before you're going to retire, you really should take a hard look of what the process looks like. And you really need a process. So I want to spend a little bit of time about talking about what goes into a process. First and foremost, you got to think about what really matters to you in life. That is a critical element when you talk about retirement planning. What do I mean by what matters? So most people really want to focus on the why in life when they retire. Number one, it's family. You never want to lose sight of how important it is to spend time with family. The second is a work optional lifestyle. Many people, when they move into retirement, they want to be in a position to work because they want to, not because they have to. Third is the recreation, the bucket list that they've created, all the things that they've delayed and they put off until the time they retire, that now that every day is Saturday, they can start checking off those boxes. Those are the three things that we consider the why in life. And most people want to focus on the why. But what does it take to make all that happen? It's the money. It's the how that makes all this happen. And the financial plan or the retirement plan needs to focus on the money and how you structure your plan to ensure you can focus on the why. The second part of the process is what we can control and what we can't control. As we know, there's not a lot of life that we can actually control. And we really can't spend a lot of time focusing on what we can't control. We really need to focus on what we can control, right? It's not the direction of the wind, it's the direction of the sail that really matters, right? So let's talk about building the sail to help you navigate through retirement. And it really takes a process to do this. And it really is putting all the pieces of the financial puzzle together to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. In other words, to make sure you're not putting square pegs in the round holes. So let's take a look at what a process might look like. So the first part of the process is, number one, education. A critical element to a successful retirement plan is educating yourself on all the pieces that need to be determined and understood when you build a retirement plan. That's a critical element. You don't know what you don't know, and you need to put yourself in a position that you're better prepared so you can start working through a process. The second part of it is evaluating. What do I mean by evaluating? You got to go back and look at all the things in which that you've done over your accumulation phase. I often call this your financial junk drawer, right? All these things that you've accumulated, all these things that you've done. Now you need to evaluate what you've done to determine how that's going to help you or how that's going to prepare you for the next phase of your life. So that evaluation is very important. The third part of the process is you got to set goals, right? Goals are very, very important. You got to set goals. What do you hope to accomplish in retirement? We talked about the why. Family, work optional lifestyle, recreational bucket list, all these things are part of your goals. What are your aspirations? Everybody's a little bit different what they ultimately want to accomplish. We got to set those goals. And then fourth, we need to now develop a plan that incorporates all the pieces of the financial puzzle. We often call that the peak formula, which includes wealth management, a cash flow plan, a tax plan, a risk management plan, an estate plan / legacy plan, and then if you're charitably inclined, a charitable giving plan, right? And all the value-added services that go along with that, right? You need to develop the plan. This is very important. Now, the next step is where the rubber meets the road, right? And oftentimes when we talk to people, there tends to be a barrier between the development of the plan and the implementation of the plan. You know, I often call this the place where you get analysis paralysis, right? Where people have a hard time of making this leap to implement a strategy. Oftentimes we find that people are worried about making a mistake or doing something that they might regret because they simply are not sure how to go to this level. And if you get to this place, and when you're developing a plan, if you use a process like this, you simply need to go back to the beginning. Right? If you can't make this leap to get from development to implementation, you simply haven't done the right job to educate yourself, to evaluate what's going on, to set the proper goals to help you develop this plan. Once you have the confidence that you have the clarity and the confidence that you've gotten to this point, it makes this implementation very, very simple. But it's a critical element to the success of the plan because the plan, in building a plan without implementation, is simply not even worth the paper that's written on, right? It brings you no value in life. So this is critical. But the buck doesn't stop here. We got to continue through the process. The last step in the process is review and adjust. Your plan should be very fluid and dynamic. It's one of which that does not sit on the shelf. It's not a set it and forget it type proposition. It's something you constantly work through the rest of your life. I'm not saying you need to look at this every day, every week, every month, but you really should dust this off and make sure that things are up to date at least once or twice a year to ensure that you're on track. You should really have a report card for yourself to make sure that you're doing all the things that you need to do. Again, as I said at the beginning, there's two parts of the process. There is what matters and what you can control. And I'm telling you, you can't focus a lot on what you can control, but your plan needs to identify and needs to be prepared so when things do happen in your life, we call them critical financial events, and they will happen. Some of those events can be positive, and some of them might be negative. But your plan needs to be built in a way that can be flexible, that can adapt to these critical financial events as they occur in your life. But I assure you, those that have a plan and have a process tend to be 10 times more successful than those that are not. There's been many studies done over the years from very high scholared folks that have proven that planning is a critical element to success, really in anything that you do, but especially when it comes to retirement planning, because all of us want to make sure that we never have more life than money. Very, very important. So hopefully you got some value from this video, but again, if you like it, please click the button below, follow us, and share it. Again, until next time.